It's Chiefs-Bengals. Chiefs-Bengals, which in the AFC has become kind of a roadblock of importance, specifically for the Chiefs. Last weekend, the Bengals hosted the Patriots, and frankly, when they consider the Chiefs in week 2, they probably never saw this coming if you were a Bengals fan. On Sunday, Joe Burrow said he didn't have an answer for the lack of offensive rhythm the Bengals had against the Patriots, but it's on brand with how the Bengals have started in seasons past. As we look at the last 3 seasons, the Bengals are 0-3 under Joe Burrow. Now, this is a tad bit unfair because in the first year, I think it was his appendix that came out of his body in preseason. Last year, he had a calf injury that he was trying to come back from, and the season kind of unraveled. And this one, he's got wide receivers who are in camp, out of camp, signed, not signed, paid, not paid. So bumpy starts for the Bengals to start this season in week 1. But the Bengals are still historically a team that has beat the Chiefs in Joe Burrow's tenure. So, Rob, can they do it in Arrowhead?
Yeah, they can do it in Arrowhead. I mean, when you think about this just being week 1, I mean, I don't want to totally overreact to a loss in week 1. We've seen this Bengals team start slow. I do think they need to get Chase Brown a little bit more involved in the run game, get some explosives in the run game so that Joe Burrow can kind of have a piece of his offense he can go to when things aren't, that can settle this offense down. But I will say this, the dynamic on this Bengals team is a little bit different this year. They don't have that full complement of all those receivers and nice toys on the outside. You do have a disgruntled wide receiver on the outside who he should be paid. He should, he wants to be paid, he should be paid. And so he didn't practice. And so there's going to be a couple of weeks where this group is starting to find their rhythm and get their things together. You talk about T. Higgins. He's banged up right now. So when you have a Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, and Tyler Boyd, when they were all out there, it's a little bit different presentation to the defense. The defense has a little bit more to worry about. Well, now you only really got to worry about Jamar Chase being that, coverage dictator and things like that. And I believe from a defensive standpoint, it's a little bit easier to figure them out. So I will say this. I don't want to overreact from the Cincinnati Bengals in week 1, but this year is a different dynamic. And I think, Joe Burrow, that's why you've seen him have a little bit of the angry face on the sideline, because I think he understands that, this dynamic is different this year. I don't know from the business standpoint if this organization is going to pay my wide receiver on the outside like he should be paid. I just think we should pump the brakes a little bit.
You know how they have the Manning cast now, and you've got the game, and then you've got like the box, and it's these 2 hosts, and then there's the third guest in the middle. I'd love for Mayor Aftab Purival from Cincinnati to be brought on here. Why would I want the mayor of Cincinnati on a Manning cast during the? That's the guy who said Burrowhead and called it Burrowhead and went all in on Burrowhead. And that was a couple of years ago, and they were feeling themselves. Remember, Joe Burrow went into Arrowhead and beat the Chiefs in an AFC championship game, got to go to the Super Bowl. And then the next year, they played him again, and it was this cocky confidence coming from the Bengals. Like, we own Arrowhead. They called it Burrowhead. And the Chiefs ever since have just rolled. They've won 2 Super Bowls since, and the Bengals, we haven't heard much from them since. So, look. They're 0-1. They lost to a team that everyone had 32nd ranked in their power rankings, and they lost to them at home last week. I don't know where that confidence and swagger went, but I'm not feeling it. And maybe I'm not in Cincinnati with Mayor Purival to maybe feel that juice right now. But they might need some sort of pep talk, because I'll tell you what, it hasn't gone well in early September for the Bengals. Can we go down history a little bit and go down memory lane?
Yeah.
All right, so let's go back to 2020 against the Chargers. Why? Well, this was week 1. They lost 16-13 in week 1 to the Chargers with Zach Taylor's first game. Okay, all right, fine. The next year, they go play Pittsburgh in 2022, and they lose that game in week 1. Last year, they played Cleveland in a game that they were supposed to dominate because they were coming off an AFC championship game. They lost 24-3 against Cleveland in week 1. And then last week, they lost week 1 against the Patriots. I say all this because I know Burrow's come off injuries. I know Burrow has an issue with Jamar Chase, with his contract. We got to figure that out. He didn't practice also. Would it be asking so much for the Bengals to come ready to play in early September? They are now 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. They're 1-5 in week 1 since 2019. That was with Marvin Lewis. And they are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 0-5 in week 2s. They start off 0-2 or 1-1 every single year. Can we get off to a better start every season? So at some point, it's not just it just happened. Guess what? Jamar Chase didn't practice all summer. Joe Burrow was injured all the I don't know. Do I have confidence they're going to walk into Kansas City and win? They beat the Niners last year. They do it sometimes. They go out there and they win these games. The Bengals are very good when they're all working. For some reason, they just don't show up in early September, and I don't have much confidence they're going to. And Mayor Purval, I'd love to see on the broadcast throughout.
Is he still the sitting mayor?
I hope.
Let's find out. Research. Can we find out if Mayor Purval is still the mayor?
I don't know Ohio politics as well
I don't know
as I
either.
used to.
Listen, everybody has heard this thing now over the last week that Zach Taylor loses week one. And then you're like, well, I'm sure they figured out week 2. They
Never
don't.
won week 2.
They don't. In fact, I remember once they lost at Chicago, and I think Burrow threw like 2 pick sixes. Like, it was just a complete disaster. And yet they lost week 2 in a year that they went to the title game. They lost week 2 and they went to the Super Bowl. They figure it out, and they figure it out fast. I listen, this is my chorus this week. I'm not burying any of these teams. I am not. I am not doing it. I'm not saying that the Giants are the number 1 pick in the draft. I'm not saying that the Patriots are going to the playoffs. I'm not lifting. I will not do it. I won't do it with the Bengals if they lose this week. I will not. If you go to Arrowhead and you lose to the Chiefs and everything, and it's, I don't know, 21-20, 21-30, I don't care. This team has a great quarterback and a Super Bowl coach, all right? They got incredible this, incredible that. They have the ingredients. This is not some new concoction we're trying to get our hands on. We've been around with this team. We know what they do. Zach Taylor is a good coach. He has real problems early in the season. I don't know what to tell him, but I'm sure he knows about it. I am not burying this team. I don't think they're going to go into Kansas City and win, but I'm not going to give up on them next Monday if they don't.
A flatter team in the NFL last week than
terrible.
the Cincinnati Bengals.
Yes, they look terrible.
And I'll tell you what was scary. The Patriots looked better, more disciplined. The Patriots looked more experienced, which is a Bengals team that's been through it all. The Patriots looked more in shape. They ran the ball the entire game right through it, and they just ran out the clock. And it was demoralizing. So that was in front of their home audience. That was in front of their fans. Now you're going to Kansas City. Now you're going to Burrowhead? Yeah. I don't know.
Burrowhead. I still think that's a funny name. But I like the name, though, because there's something to say about that. That's because they're 3-2 against the Kansas City Chiefs. But here's the thing. It's like stepping up for that bully, right? It's that bully that come in. He's the biggest dude on campus. Everybody knows that this dude can fight. And oftentimes what happens is that bully overlooks the person that has that opportunity to just give you a nice uppercut. And it just feels like, in this situation, the Bengals have that opportunity. They have that number. They're not as big and as sexy and got all the other accolades as the Kansas City Chiefs, but they've got a nice little uppercut. And every single time it seems like they get that uppercut on the Kansas City Chiefs. You go back to that AFC Championship game back in 2021. We got the tape here. I mean, they just find a way to do it. And so I'm thinking, yes, they started off sloppy against the New England Patriots. Yeah, they were off. They had the fumbles. The Patriots, they had no fumbles. They secured the ball. And I think, Rob, you know this. If you have the turnovers, if you're losing the battle in turnovers, it's very hard in the NFL to win games. And so they had a lot of self-inflicted wounds on themselves, dropping balls and all this other stuff. They looked sloppy. You talked about preseason, right? Yeah. You're still trying to work out the kinks.
This is week 1.
It's week 1. Guys. You're trying to work out the kinks. So I'm going to say they have an opportunity to go into Kansas. It's a very hard place. Haven't played that place. It's very hard to win in Kansas City, but they're not out just because they lost the first game to the New England Patriots.
Couple of points of business to take care of here on GMFB. Confirmed Aftab Piraval still the mayor of Cincinnati, for you gentlemen in New York City who care about the origination of Burrowhead. Still the mayor. Secondly, did you guys see this report out of some beat writers in New England that during the game, as the Patriots were wearing on, this, Peter, to your point, that the Patriots looked really in shape, that the guys on the sideline were yelling to each other for the Patriots, saying, take them to the hill, because Gerard Mayo was making them run the hill.
Take them to the hill.
And so the Pats took the Bengals on their home field to the hill. That's how in shape they were.
That's disrespectful.
That's what was being said.
It's all good.
Peter, curious, the farther we get away from January 2021, that overtime AFC title game, does it become less and less that's an argument that you could make about this Bengals team? Because the roster changes. Sure, your quarterback and coach is the same, but the farther you get away from a singular event happening, to me, it's less of an argument.
Jamie, it's a good point. This game's on CBS. I assume Nance and Romo are on it. Is this the last time we get Nance and Romo for a Chiefs-Bengals game? Like, are we already writing off the Bengals? It seems like it's one game, and last year we this whole second half of the season felt like it was a lost deal because of the injury to Burrow. I would love to see this be a shootout and for Burrow and for Chase to get it going. But, like, you know, that was the rivalry of the NFL less than 2 years ago, the rivalry. And I don't think it feels that way this week at the moment.